Welcome to the Heart of the Wild webcast show. My name is Thui, and today I want to look at some of the hunter changes for patch 401. Now, I want to start out by saying that these changes are in no way etched in stone. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. And I know, and I'm almost certain, one of the biggest considerations that we're looking at for the hunter that most people want to know about is the mana versus focus. How is that going to affect your gameplay? Is it going to really nerf your DPS, or is it going to allow the hunter to blossom into this beautiful killing machine? I personally am leaning towards a killing machine. You know, what's interesting about some of the game mechanics that they're coming up with now is that guns, bows, and crossbows no longer require ammunition. And with pets, they're going to go ahead and give them specialized abilities. For example, Wind Serpents will provide a debuff that increases the amount of spell damage taken by an enemy. Or, for Ravengers, will provide a debuff that increases the enemy's physical damage vulnerability. And Hyenas will provide bleed damage, similar to that of the weaker version of a Druid's ability to mangle. This is epic. This is going to give hunters the ability to be more diversified and handle more situations when a particular role needs to be filled. But I think the question is how is this all going to come together in a real-life situation? So to help sort that out, I've taken a hunter based on mana and a hunter based on focused and compared them. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn our attention to the hunter based on mana. So first we're going to start off with our glyphs. I have a glyph of Hawk, I have the glyph of Steady Shot, and I also have the glyph of Explosive Shot. Next, after glyphs, I want to look at the talent tree. The reason that I want to look at the talent tree is so that you can see what I'm specialized in, so that when you go to compare, it's apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're looking at an improved tracking 5 out of 5. We're also looking at Trap Master 3 out of 3, Survivalist Instincts 2 out of 2. We're looking at a Survivalist 5 out of 5. We're looking at TNT rank 3. We're looking at Lock and Load 3 out of 3, Killer Instinct 3 out of 3. We're looking at Hunter versus Wild 3 out of 3. And then we're going to have to move down a little bit here. We're going to go into Resourcefulness 3 out of 3. Lightning Reflexes 5 out of 5. Exposed Weakness 2 out of 3. Wyvern Sting. We're also looking at Thrill to Hunt 3 out of 3. Noxious Sting 3 out of 3. Master Tactician 5 out of 5. We're also looking at Black Arrow. Sniper Training 3 out of 3. And then we're also looking at Hunting Party 2 out of 3. And we finish up the tree with Explosive Shot. Alright, let's go ahead and move into the Marksman's tree. We have Lethal Shot 5 out of 5. Mortal Shot 5 out of 5. We have Careful Aim 3 out of 3. We have Go for the Throat 1 out of 2. And then we wrap it up with Aimed Shot. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the pet talent tree. Now I realize this can be trivial, but the pet does add a considerable amount of DPS, so I did want to spend a little bit of time about the talents that I actually chose. So with that, let's go ahead and go into it. We got Cobra Reflexes 2 out of 2. We also have Dash. We have Bloodthirsty 1 out of 2. Spiked Collar 3 out of 3. Culling the Herd 3 out of 3. Spider's Bite 3 out of 3. Call the Wild. We also have Rabid. And to top it off, we got Wild Hunt 1 out of 2. Next, I want to get into the DPS rotation. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Survival Hunter's DPS rotation, let's go ahead and go over it, shall we? Open with Explosive Shot, then go to Black Arrow, Serpent Sting, Aim Shot, Steady Shot, and then back to Explosive. If everything goes well, it should bring you right back around in the circle to start up with Explosive Shot again. Now, as far as the priorities are concerned, you're going to go ahead and go with the Kill Shot, then you're going to move to Explosive, Black Arrow, Serpent Sting, Aim Shot, and then finish up with Steady Shot. Steady Shot's going to be the shot that you're going to use to fill in your rotation when you're waiting for other cooldowns on other shots. The one exception to this shot rule for priority is Lock and Load. Whenever that procs, fire it up. It's a 3-shot lock and load. Just take care of it. It'll boost your DPS, and you'll be a happy camper. And everybody's going to go, yay, great DPS for you. Alright, now one of the things I want to point out here is my DPS is pushing about 3100 at the moment, which is a pretty decent DPS considering the gear that I'm wearing. Now the reason that I point that out is in the future here we're going to be looking at the focus-based hunter so that you can see the DPS gaps and ranges. Also, there's one more thing I want to point out. If you look at my character picture at the top left, you're going to see that my mana's quickly dwindling. What sucks about this is I'm going to eventually have to go into Aspect of the Viper to drop my DPS just to get mana back, just so that I can roll right back into trying to do my DPS rotation. Personally, I never liked it, can't stand it, but you know, you guys might have a different view on that. And now, without further ado, I bring you the focused-based hunter. With that, I got Explosive Shot, I got Steady Shot, and I got Dazzled Prey. And just as a side note, once you've learned your glyphs, you don't have to worry about spending money to buy them again, to learn them again. They're there for you to use over and over. Alright, just to let everybody know up front, I'm not a master at specialization, but I did the best I could with the 31-point talent system, because it is slightly different than our previous talent system. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? For the first talent, I went Hunter versus Wild, 3 out of 3. Then I went Improved Tracking, 3 out of 3. Then I also went Improved Serpent Sting. Trap Mastery, 3 out of 3. Thrill of the Hunt, 3 out of 3. Lock and Load, 2 out of 2, very important. TNT, 2 out of 2. Resourcefulness, 3 out of 3. Toxology, 2 out of 2. Wyvern Sting. Noxious Stings, 2 out of 2. Hunting Party. Serpent Spread, 2 out of 2. Sniper Training, 3 out of 3. And finally, Black Arrow. Now, under the Marksman's tree, I went with Rapid Killing, 2 out of 2. And I also went Efficiency, 1 out of 3. What you may have noticed is that I was going pretty slow through the tree. Part of the reason I was doing that is I wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to at least read a little bit of each talent so they can get an understanding of how I specialized my character. And now I want to move into the Focused Hunter's shot rotation. Oddly enough, my rotation didn't change very much. I still opened with Explosive, went to Black Arrow, Serpent Sting, and then Steady Shot. Now, what's interesting to point out here about Steady Shot is that it actually regenerates your focus. The reason that I'm noting this is because when you find that you don't have enough focus to go ahead and do your explosive shot, pop a couple of steady shots off just to get that focus back up so that you can turn around and do your explosive shots. What was amazing to notice is I was sitting here railing on this dummy and I was tearing it apart. I was pushing out over 4K DPS. And it didn't stop. I didn't have to worry about stopping for mana, switching aspects, or anything like that. I was able to just keep driving like a truck, never ending, completely overwhelming, destroying my opponent. There is something that I did want to point out. I don't have this rotation optimized. So somebody that knows more about optimization and rotations will probably be able to take this DPS off the charts. Adding to that, I wasn't actually using my Arcane Shot, which is another good DPS booster. As you can see, this has got a lot of potential, and I think there's going to be a lot more good things to come. But what does this all really mean in the real world situations? When you need to stick and move, you need to keep going, keep driving, how does this really function? So what I've done is I've added a compilation here of a small little clip of when I ran the heroic Pit of Sauron. Now what you're going to notice is my DPS gains aren't as high as they were before, but I'm still cranking it at over 800 DPS higher than my mana-based counterpart. And you know what? I wouldn't expect anything less, because in a real-world scenario, when you're not in the hypothetical and you got to stick and move and do your job and make sure it happens, still an 800 DPS gain is something to write home about. Alright, well we've gone over a lot of things. Hopefully the contrast of the focus-based hunter versus the mana-based hunter was good enough to give you an idea, or at least a feel for how things worked. I'm Thwee from Heart of the Wild Webcast. Happy wowing. If you're still listening, I'm going to go ahead and do something I've never done before here. I'm going to try and add some audio bloopers to the back end of the video, starting now, right here, with this particular... We'll start it out that way, okay? Well, we've covered a lot today, and I don't want to get everybody too overwhelmed, but at least everybody had a good opportunity. Oh, check it out. There's Efflephants. Efflephants! Let's go over glyphs, shall we? We're looking at Explosive Shot, we're looking at Steady Shot, and then we're also looking at Days and what? Days and Pies? And just as a side note, once you've learned the glyphs, you don't have to worry about purchasing them over again. It's more or less free. More or less free.